There's lots of ways to incorporate self-care and to become more zen in the chaos. You just need to put yourself as a priority and even put it in your diary, like in your calendar as a schedule, like schedule in half an hour, like go and get a facial, go for a walk. You've got your child's soccer or baseball, you know, you've got to do those things, right? And you never miss them. So why don't you make your appointments just as important? It came down to because I just really wanted to feel well, and I wasn't well. I was early 20s. I wasn't looking after myself. I took a trip to Thailand, plenty of partying. I came home with parasites and dengue fever. Soon after I got home, I had a lot of sort of like female issues. And I went to the gynecologist and I had a pap smear done and I had precancerous cells. They said that I would potentially struggle to get pregnant in the future. I'm 22 years old. You're telling me that I might struggle to have kids? And that just switched me and I was like, I need to do something. That's really when I discovered plant-based eating. And every day I just felt better and better. And it just sort of put me on this journey of like, wow, like there is a better version of me in here and I'm just going to keep going. Then I got pregnant with Rowdy.
That was Loni Jane, a mother, creative artist, photographer, and online content creator living in Australia who's been a close friend of mine since our oldest children were just toddlers. I truly admire Loni and have been wanting to get her on my podcast since the creation of this podcast because she's just so dang inspiring, contemplative, nuanced, and big-hearted. We stay connected on and off over the phone, and I'm so happy to be sharing a glimpse of our conversations with you today. Loni lives her passions and thrives on vibrant, simple living across all aspects of her life, from healthy plant-based eating to staying grounded in family, to getting her explant surgery and following her intuition, to self-care, skincare, individuality, and creative flow. There's something for everyone in this conversation that is sure to light a fire within you. We cover her health journey from sick to thriving and not taking care of herself to valuing her health and wellness, her breast implant illness story, what grounds her, and balancing work life and motherhood, the problems with social media and pressures that come with it, overcoming anxiety, following your heart, and her self-care advice and more. I didn't want to end this conversation. We always can talk for hours and hours. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the Ellen Fisher Podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Loni. I'm so excited to have you here. And yeah, just so excited for this conversation. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited too, Ellen. Let's put our conversation out to the world. Or the many ones that we've had. So I'm super excited to chat with you and chat with everyone who's listening. Let's get it happening.
Yeah, a lot of people who might be listening might not know that we have been friends for a long time. We have been online friends. That's how we found each other. But Loni and her family has come to visit Hawaii, and we've got to spend part of her vacation while she's here. And we have gone to waterfalls together. I even have this beautiful picture that she took because she's an amazing photographer up in my home where we're just sitting at a waterfall together while I'm pregnant with Sandy. So this was like 7 years ago. And I just find you so inspirational in so many ways. I love how authentic you are, even when it's tempting to not be authentic. You know, there's so many pressures and, I don't know, ways to just convince yourself to not be authentic, but you always stay true to yourself. And I think that's one reason why so many people are so inspired by you. Just to finish tooting a little bit, your horn, tooting a little bit. When I posted on my Instagram stories, people were so excited. I said, I'm going to interview Loni Jane on the podcast, and people were so excited to hear from you and had so many questions that they wanted me to ask. So yeah, I'm just excited to get into this.
Well, I appreciate all those sweet words, Ellen. You're so kind. And I feel exactly the same way about you. And I think that's why we've been friends for such a long time. We have a lot in common. But we're also able to talk about our differences, and I just love being authentic in our friendship and being authentic online and just authentic in the people that we are. So, I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, totally. That's like the only way I can have a friendship, and the fact that when we get on the phone together, we could just talk for so long with the kids in the background even. And
Mom.
I know, about all different kinds of things. So I guess let's just jump right in. The first thing when I think of you is like inner vibrancy, being your authentic self, while also you manage to maintain this wonderful balance in your life. And I know a lot of people, like, they see you have this wonderful self-care routine that's so inspiring, and then you're also this incredible mom. So how do you find balance in your life that feels good to you?
I I think that's always right. The goal is to like find the balance, but I don't ever feel like I've ever perfectly got it in balance. Like I think it's the juggle is, that's the whole point of it, is just the effort that it takes. And as long as you're always making effort to try and create balance and that equilibrium in life, that's where you will find the best balance that you possibly can in what you have handed to you. I think just in general, it comes down to values. And I think like I've done a lot of value assessing over, the past sort of decade. And I think my value, like one of my highest values is sort of vibrancy in general. I want to feel good. I want to feel healthy. I want my family to live a good life. And I sort of think when most decisions that I make come from that foundational value of feeling well, living well, that's the main goal, is really just, what can I do to make myself feel better? What can I do here to improve my family life? What can I do to, improve my relationship with other friends, family, partner, etc.? So I really think, the value, one of my greatest values is wellness and health. So that's really what it comes down to. Right. So in terms, so when I'm thinking like when I'm super busy and, I'm stressed out, I sort of ask myself like, what could I do to like bring myself back to my body? If I'm really stuck in my head, so maybe I'll just have a 20-minute sauna. Maybe I'll just jump in the bath. Maybe I'll do a face mask. Maybe I'll do a 10-minute meditation. Maybe I'll go and just put my feet on the grass. And when you're really busy, I think, food is a huge one, especially when, you're out on the road or you're working. It's so easy to think, oh yeah, well, I'll just go through the drive-through. I'll just, go into the fast food store and grab that because it's so convenient. But because my value is sort of feeling well, I know that I need to prepare before I go and do those things. So I'll always put, like some tamari almonds and I'll leave them in my car. I'll grab a bunch of bananas on the way so I can have snacks. I'll pre-make my food, before I go out. So I think just really determining what your values are really shapes you as a person, and it helps you really understand who you are. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so on point, because wherever your focus is, that's the direction you're gonna head in. So whatever your biggest values are, you're gonna make it a priority. Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that actually helped me really determine what my values were, I'm sure you probably heard of him, but Dr. DeMartini. And
no.
He had, oh, you've not? Okay.
No.
Yeah, he's great. He has a whole method of how to determine what your values are. So it helps you sort of clarify the foundation of your life and then what drives you. Like highly recommend it. He's got a program like just on his website. I think it's free actually. I think that was the first thing I did when I found out, when I discovered him. He has a lot of videos on YouTube. He's got a podcast. He's sort of like super old school guy, but his story actually starts in Hawaii, I think, and he was like homeless and he couldn't read or write. He had no family and he was like living in a tent, and he was like really sick. And anyway, I don't know this. Oh, I think it was the guy who started Bragg's, the apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
He found him in this tent and then literally like told him that, like you need to pull yourself together and like you can do and be whatever you want. And he's like, no, but I can't read or write and I'm dumb and I'm stupid. And I forget his name. Is it John Bragg? No. Anyway, he really instilled this belief.
To believe in himself and that he could be whatever he wants to be. He just needs to set his mind to it and to determine his values. And so that's sort of where it all came from him. And now he teaches globally about how to sort of rate your value system and what even values are, and then how they determine how your life will unfold depending on what values that you have. So so it's super interesting. So I've learned a lot from him, and I know that obviously one of my highest values is health and wellness, and then family, and that's sort of like my two biggest ones.
That's amazing. I'm gonna check this guy out because I love that core foundational message for sure.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you hadn't, but yeah, I think you'll love him.
That's so cool. Where is he living now?
I think he's from California, but he's always traveling. He's
Cool.
just always doing talks and seminars and live interviews and all sorts of stuff. He's just so passionate about teaching people about this just because of how much it turned his life around. And he was, dyslexic. He couldn't read, write, or anything. And now he's written multiple books, and he speaks obviously every day. So it's amazing. Super inspirational.
That's so cool. So those
Yeah.
core values of like your wellness and then also your family, how you even balance that? Because sometimes that can feel overwhelming because like your children are your life, right? And you really do have to make it an extra priority to take care of yourself, or else it's so easy for mothers and parents in general to put their own self-care on the back burner. Because like Andrew and I, we got away for 2 nights. Was it 2 nights? Yeah, 2 nights.
I saw that
Recently.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, we were like a completely different couple. Like it was like all of a sudden we could focus on each other for just a couple of days, and it was so helpful for our relationship. So how do you not get like caught up in just the chaos that sometimes happen in motherhood and also like center yourself in the midst of that?
I do. I do definitely get caught up in the chaos and I get overwhelmed, just like everyone else. I think I've just practiced. Well, I think I just continue to practice that self-care, self-love, and that time alone to, even if it's just, I think people have a notion that you need hours or days, whereas I see it as like minutes or, an hour. It's, if you can get days, great. But most mums, you just don't get to have days. Even when they're at school, it's like you're so busy either working, doing housework, keeping a household, running a kitchen, etc., that there is lack of time to go and lay around at the day spa or whatever, or, sit for hours and read books and do those sorts of things. So I think if you just incorporate the time into the chaos, like the 5 minutes to walk on the grass with bare feet, 10 minutes to sit in the sun between work, or screen time, whatever it is. Like, obviously I do have certain luxuries at home that I've worked really hard to get and set up, like having a sauna at home, having beautiful natural space that I can enjoy. But, that's where it comes back to my values. Like I created this space because those things are such a high value to me. And it's like a non-compulsory. I mean, it's like a compulsory thing for me. Like I need to have those things for my life to function well. I live a very busy life. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just so chill and I'm like just sitting at home and, amongst the trees and the birds. And I do a lot of those things, but it's just a mist in between the chaos. Like you said, like I've got, I run a kitchen. I literally have to have enough food at all times to feed 4 people. I mean, the drill, like you've got even more people in your household. I do it on my own. It's just the way that our family dynamic is. And, my partner is off away working a lot of the time. So, in between, I just take those 5-10 minutes in between and just make the most of it and just really try and clear my head. I journal a lot too. I do a lot of journaling to get, instead of projecting onto other people, like if I'm frustrated with things or I'm just can't quite work through something, I just write it down, So there's lots of ways to incorporate self-care and to become more zen in the chaos. You just need to put yourself as a priority and even put it in your diary, like in your calendar as a schedule, like schedule in half an hour, like go and get a facial, go for a walk, go to watch the sunrise, like just like you would, you've got your child's soccer or baseball, you've got to do those things, right? And you never miss them. So why don't you make your appointments just as important?
We're brought to you today by a favorite apothecary shop of mine called Anima Mundi Herbals. They specialize in high-potency elixirs, medicinal mushrooms, and collagen boosters, and support true fair trade practices beyond organic farming, education, and small farmers to create remedies that benefit people from all walks of life. I love the immunity boosters in their shop, including black elderberry syrup, mushroom mocha milk, and spirulina, which is an organic, protein-rich mineralizer that tastes delicious in banana mango smoothies. I'm also obsessed with their happiness powder, an energizing and mood-boosting herbal coffee that is caffeine-free and adaptogenic. The organic roasted dandelion root is one of the key elements that give this powder a coffee-esque flavor, while also stimulating the liver and supporting healthy digestion and the body's natural detoxification process. Much like coffee, it has a pleasant, roasted flavor with bitter notes, making it a perfect powder for all coffee lovers looking to boost their mood while improving their health. Also, when I was pregnant, I loved their Goddess Magic Healing and Moisturizing Bundle, which includes a collagen booster face oil, womb tea, blue lotus flowers, and a rose body oil, which is just divine. Anima Mundi uses eco-friendly packaging in recyclable glass or biodegradable bags. I'm a huge fan of supporting Anima Mundi Herbals, and I got an awesome discount for you guys, so use my code ELLEN15 for 15% off anything at animamundiherbals.com. That's ANIMAMUNDIHERBALS.com. That's such a good point. There's a lot of things you said there that I think are really valuable, because I recently did a financial freedom episode with this really awesome woman named Rachel Cruz. She's Dave Ramsey's daughter. I don't know if you know who that is. But we did.
I think I've heard of her.
Yeah, and so we did an episode on financial freedom, and one of those aspects is like sacrificing in areas where you can cut costs, but then also, like I was mentioning, how that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice in every area. So whatever's your highest value, you're gonna be willing to save for and work hard for to be able to get that. So like for us, we've been sharing one car for 10 years, and that's like worth it for us and something we're able to manage so far. But I don't know how much longer we're going to manage with that, like with all the sports as the kids are getting older and now a fifth child. But so far, that's something.
Do you have a bus? Do you have a bus for all your kids?
I know, right?
A Kia Carnival, isn't it?
I know. We might be upping our game soon in the largeness of the car that we get, but just like pointing out that like there's certain areas that are worth it to us to like sacrifice in order to be able to spend more on something like quality food. And for you, that's like a sauna and different things like that. So I think that is really an awesome point. And then just the other factor of making your own time just as much of a priority as it is for your kids. And like that can be really hard, because sometimes it's like you really want to focus on giving your kids enough love and attention and time, but then if you're not taking care of yourself in between those moments, then you can get really burnt out, and then you're not going to be as great of a mom as you could be. Yeah.
I think too, I really felt this when I got unwell, and I really struggled to look after my family the way that I always had, not being able to get out of bed, most every morning I'm up 4:45, 5 a.m. and I just couldn't get out of bed. I had sore head. I had headaches. My fatigue was insane. So I just didn't feel well enough, but, and I know that a lot of people really struggle with that. Like, if their value isn't health or feeling well and they're just constantly feeling terrible, then you just can't really apply yourself to be the best person for someone else.
Absolutely. And that's one of those reasons where I've also found the same as you, that like making my health a priority, it makes everything else fall into place. Because when I'm feeling really good, I can mentally and physically, I can be a better parent, a better partner, and enjoy my life more.
Yeah, just so much more energy, and you just don't have to worry about feeling unwell, or I've got a headache today, or I've got a sore belly, or like I'm dealing with these huge health problems and burden other people with it unintentionally. If you just apply that effort to eating well and taking those small steps out of your day to ground yourself and clear your head, and a little bit of pampering time if it fits, it just makes all the difference,
Yeah, and even if that means like 30 minutes after the kids go to bed, which tends to be my time that I'm able to like give myself some me time, like some skincare time and like relaxation. That is in and of itself, and being intentional with that time when you're alone instead of, trying to pass the time.
Or just put on the TV and just, zone out and escape. I'm not saying that I haven't done that or that there's times that I don't want to do that, but for the majority of the time, when I'm not with the kids, I like to do so many things. Like I don't want to escape who I am when I'm alone. Like I want to be with me. I want to spend time with me because I like this person that I have created, and I like being in my head, and like, because I'm not in my head, I'm like, when I'm super healthy and I'm feeling great, like I'm nice to myself and I'm so creative and all these things come to me and I want to work and I want to just become a better person. So I don't need to escape in a television show or on social media, like getting lost in someone else's life, because I love myself and I love my life.
Yeah, and that's inspiring.
There's nothing wrong. I know a lot of people watch lots of, Netflix series, and I've watched, plenty of them myself, but I think the difference is I don't use it as like an escape to like, oh, I wish my life was like that, or just to not think about where my life is at and just get distracted in the show. If anything, I get distracted. Myself distracts me from when I'm watching that stuff. I'm like, I've got other things to do. Like I'm wasting my life.
Yeah, there's a big difference between like quality time with your partner, maybe to watch a movie, versus like zoning out in front of the TV and like wasting a lot of the precious time that you have.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you talk a little bit about your health journey and why and when you became passionate about your health? Like maybe walk us through a little bit about like your plant-based journey and when you started just caring about your wellness.
Yeah. So I think the same thing as the values thing. It came down to because I just really wanted to feel well and I wasn't well. And I think I had this real drive to like just feel my best. Like surely there's a better version of me in here. So I was early 20s and I just moved interstate up to Queensland from Melbourne on my own. And I wasn't looking after myself. I took a trip to Thailand, plenty of partying and, all the fun stuff. But I came home with parasites and dengue fever. And I was just so sick. Like they didn't even want to leave me send me home on the plane. They were like, you're not well enough to be on this flight. And I was like, just took a heap of, painkillers. I'm like, I'm fine. Like I just wanted to get home. So that was really the catalyst. And I think soon after I got home, I had a lot of sort of like female issues. And I went to the gynecologist and I had a pap smear done and I had precancerous cells and HPV. And they said that my hormones were all over the place and I would potentially struggle to get pregnant in the future. And I just was like, I'm 22 years old. Like you're telling me that I might struggle to have kids. Like I can't take that as a fact right now. Like and that just switched me and I was like, I need to do something. And that's really when I discovered plant-based eating. And, I went down in the deep end and just did the raw food lifestyle for 6 to 12 months. I did a huge juice cleanse to start with. It was about 4 weeks long. And every day I just felt better and better. And it just sort of put me on this journey of like, wow, like there is a better version of me in here and I'm just going to keep going. So then that was the same time that there was Instagram came out. And I naturally, because I was always taking photos, like I was a photographer before. So I was always using Facebook and sharing a lot of my life on Facebook and, downloading a whole gallery, after a weekend.
Right.
So naturally just got on Instagram and then just started sort of documenting my story, because even if you go right back, you can see all my partying days, and then the way that I used to eat back then, and then just sort of like this slow transition into a different lifestyle. So that was sort of how it all started, and I just kept going with it. I just kept feeling better and better, and then my hormones obviously balanced out, my gut issues balanced out, my skin issues balanced out, and then I got pregnant with Rowdy. I was surprised because they told me that I would struggle, and I had just got off. I had an implant on. I don't know if you have that in the States. It's like a contraception that you put in your arm.
Mm-hmm. And
I had that removed, and I was pregnant within 6 months. And they said it'll take you years probably if you are able to get pregnant. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised when I got pregnant, but I was so happy. Like I was just like, yes, like my body can do this. What a gift. I did it. I healed myself with obviously the help. Once I got pregnant, I was like, wow, like this lifestyle really is doing amazing things for me and my body. So I'm just going to keep going. And it's just been sort of one thing to another. And I was pretty much just on a roll for, a solid 8 years. And then I got struck down with breast implant illness, which just took me, it felt like, 10 steps backwards. I felt worse than what I felt in my early 20s. It was so rapid and so fast. It was sort of come on like end of 2019, and then 2020, it was like, I just went downhill so fast. I couldn't really fully figure it out because obviously 2020 was hectic for everyone. I thought maybe it was just an anxiety thing. I thought it was so many things that happened that year. But I couldn't also ignore the pain that I had in my left side, obviously my chest, but all down my arm. I had numbness, I had pain. I felt like I was having a heart attack, honestly, like a lot of the time.
Wow.
And that was mainly from the capsular contracture. So the scar tissue got so tight and so thick and restricted because it was connected to my rib cage. It was pulling like on all of those nerve endings. So I couldn't, this is pretty much how high I could lift my arm because it was just tight. It was like trying to protect my body from that implant that was leaking. And just getting that scar tissue just getting super tight. So
when did you get your implants?
So I can't remember the exact year. I'm thinking it was like 2010 or 11. So I was sort of coming up to like nearly 10 years, like 9-10 years. So I think I feel like they started leaking around year 8 or 9. And yeah, but I didn't know they were leaking. The MRIs didn't come up and they said they were clear. Many doctors said, you should just keep them in, get your money's worth. There's nothing wrong with them. Like it's in your head. There's no such thing as breast implant illness. It's just silly. It's a made up thing. And I was like, yeah, like, and this was a lot of professionals, like chiropractors, osteopaths, naturopaths, Chinese acupuncturists, a herbalist, a general practitioner, gynecologist, like, because I had gone to a lot of different people, like prior to sort of like 6 to 12 months before, just trying to figure out what was going on. So yeah, no one found the leak until I was cut open and it was removed. And my surgeon said, he's like, you were right. Like your left one was leaking. It's yellow. It's like sticky and oozing. And it's probably been leaking into your bloodstream for however long.
That must have been a little bit of a relief to know that like your intuition was right.
Yeah, it was a validation, to be honest. I was like, it really validated the fact that like my intuition is very strong and I can hear it so loudly. It was just hard to hear it like 2020 because obviously there was just so much going on and I just couldn't get in tune, like fully with myself. I was just so empathetic for so many other people and everything that was going on around me that I just couldn't hear it, you know. But yeah, when he did validate that, I was like, oh, I knew it. I just knew it. And I had said that openly too on Instagram. I said, this was prior, like I said, oh, I'm not feeling well, guys. I just want to be transparent. Like, I'm just not myself. I feel like there might be something going on with my left implant. I'm not sure. The MRI, everything says it's fine, but I just feel like it's not right. So yeah, it was good. It was just so good to get them out. Good.
And then what's been the result since you got them out?
Oh, just a general incline of, well, like health and wellness. I just feel like I'm just finally getting back to myself, if not like a better version of myself, like prior to even when I felt well, like when I had the implants. I just think I've never, you know, I was in denial for a long time, like with the implants. I kind of just stopped seeing them as not a part of me. Like when you have them for so long, that's just the image of, that's who you see in the mirror. I don't wake up every day going, oh yeah, I've got 2 plastic silicone objects under my skin. Like you just don't think about that, you know. And I think I just blocked it out because like I was also breastfeeding a lot of those years. And obviously the last thing you want to do as a mother is like think you're like putting toxins into your children or yourself, you know. And it was looking at it now, like it's obviously a huge contradiction to what my lifestyle was about. But I can see that, and I can openly criticize myself that it definitely was. And, you know, that's just what the journey of life is. Like you live and you learn and you move forward and you become a better person and you learn from those hard lessons.
Right. And I think that's one reason why people can like learn so much from you and do learn so much from you or am inspired by you, because you share how you like start digging deep into this topic that you're like finding like really important for you at the moment. And you'll just dig and dig and dig and dig until you can't find anything else anymore. And that's why actually your ebooks are probably my favorite ebooks, definitely my favorite ebooks I've ever read. They like, you can just tell that you put so much work into every topic and really researching for yourself. Because like you said, you went to all different types of practitioners and you're being told this thing and your intuition just knew that like, no, there's something more to this. And then you were right. And so I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from too, that like to really, really dig deep into whatever the topic is at hand, whether for you it was like sauna use or breast implant illness or just your overall health or like a specific symptom you're experiencing. And so anyone listening, definitely check out her ebooks because you go super into depth. And I mean, it's true. You go super into depth into a lot of these topics, like about your wellness and stuff. And so that is something that I feel is really inspiring, and how you just kept digging about your breast implant illness. And now you're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, once I started digging though, wow, like the amount of women that are sharing their stories about the same thing that I had, I was like, how have I not heard about this? Like, how have I not seen this? Like, this is insane. Like, this is just like, of course, this is what's causing my health. But like, once I saw it. Like, I was like, 100, like, this is it, you know? So, you know, that's why I felt really called to continue to share like my journey through it. I just like to be transparent. And, you know, I think I started so raw on this on Instagram that I never felt the need to try and create like this persona or this image of myself as something. I just am that person. I just became that person through sharing it for so many. I mean, it's been over a decade now. I think it'd be pretty easy to tell like if I wasn't authentic or if I was trying to be fake or create stories or an image of myself that I'm not. So I just always just try and remember that, like, I'm just like everyone else. I go through hardships, as we all do. I go through challenges, but I think how I like to view them is it's just a lesson. Like, it's just a challenge. It's just something to overcome. And, you know, if you can overcome it yourself and learn something from it, by sharing it, you can also help teach other people and give them insight and awareness about something they may not have any idea about.
Totally. So then how do you go about deciding how much of what you're learning should be guided by research versus your intuition?
Yeah, I think it's balanced. I think there's such a good mix of the two. I think initially it comes up as an intuitive guidance, an intuitive message. Sometimes the way things come to me, it's like, it's just feels like it's like someone's telling me that that's what I need to hear, or that's what I need to look into. You can call it spirit, you can call it guides. I don't even know. I just know that I can hear it. I know I can feel it. And it's something that I've had since I was very young. I still remember the time when I was in school, in primary school, and I used to, this might sound a bit woo-woo. I haven't shared this much at all, but I always knew that there was something else other than just like this physical body and this physical knowledge, because I used to be able to see like this spinning kind of like aura that would just keep spinning around me. And it was like these tiny little dots, like a little bit like static, you know, like on a TV when you see static, but it's got like these little rainbow flecks in it. It was kind of like that. And it just would, I could see it and I could kind of tune into it and I could just see it kind of moving. And then, I don't know, I think being able to just like slow down and like realize that there's so much more than just this physical body it gave me that skill to like hear messages from myself even, or from ancient wisdom, who knows, you know? So definitely my intuition is usually what triggers me to think about something or want to know about something, but also challenging general beliefs and the general system, the way that things work and the way that the general people believe. I just like to see what else there is. I like to deeply understand things, and I'll go to the depths of like, is this clear? Like, is this a clear message of like, it's this way or it's that way? You know, I'm just not a black and white person. I just think there's so many gray areas in everything and an array of colors. So I just like to just dig as deep as I can. I like to talk to a lot of people about their experiences. I like to journal a lot, and then, yeah, I'll go down many avenues to find information about things, especially with health. Like, I'm not the kind of person just to go, I believe in doctors, right? Like, I love doctors. I think that they are great, very experienced, very knowledgeable, but there's kind of is a bit of a limit because they're not looking at an intuitive aspect. They're not looking at, messages that might just come through. They just think that that's just not even an option. Just like with the breast implants, you know, I said, I just don't think they're right, you know, and they're like, they're fine. Like, we've scanned them. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, if I took that, I'd still be sitting here. I'd be so sick. Like, you know, and like, how many people go through even just the medical system and things go wrong. Like, you can't take everything as like this as fact from the experts. Like, anyone, you know, if there's something niggling inside you and you think, no, like, that's a gut feeling, that's a instinct, and you should act on it.
Yeah, there's so much that we can learn from medical practitioners, but we also have to, like you said, understand the limits, because even the practitioners and doctors that I've interviewed so far on the podcast will fully acknowledge that the amount of nutrition that they learn in medical school is little to none. Like, it's very, they had to go and research it themselves to come to that conclusion. Yeah. So taking everything with a grain of salt, the gray is so important. And I think when I'm coming to a conclusion about something, being able to look at all sides, like, what is every side saying? Because it's really easy to get this tunnel vision and be like, this is the only answer. Everything about this is the way. I cannot question anything. But then you're missing so many opportunities to learn from other perspectives, because it'll either
Yep.
it'll either solidify your perspective even more, like, no, yeah, I definitely don't agree with that, or I don't see that aspect for sure, or it'll help open up new avenues to be like, oh, I never considered it this way, I need to look into this. And then you're going to have a much easier time getting to the truth that you're looking for, or not that you're looking for, but the truth at hand based on where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And in saying that about truth, like, I think everybody's truth is different. And it depends on where you are in your life. It depends on so many different things. So, and in saying, like, about seeing perspectives, like, I grew up the youngest in a family of 4. I've got 3 other siblings, and a broken family at a very young age, lots of emotional turmoil. And I think, being a very observant person that I am, I could see so many different sides to what was happening. I could see, with siblings, right? There's fights, there's disagreements, and you have that with your parents, and you see that unfold with your parents, like, with huge disagreements that they may have. And as a young child, you're sort of like, what's going on there? Like, trying to digest it. And I don't know. I just think there's a lot of, like, just gray. There's so much gray. What someone might do is not necessarily right or wrong to them, and vice versa.
Yeah, trying to understand each other is like one of the core reasons why I started this podcast, because I love just hearing the different perspectives and just opening up that avenue, because it's so easy to just go down this road where you only listen to one, like, thought process, and I just don't like that. I'm just not about it. So, okay, so a question that's like a little more specific that someone in my Instagram wanted me to ask you. Actually, I got multiple questions like this. What are 5 healthy daily habits that you recommend people try to get into and make sustainable?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's start with the day before with getting enough sleep. There has been so many years, obviously, being sleep deprived with young babies and work and everything, but still just having that mindset, like, I need to get to bed because sleep is important, and it just makes the next day run so much more smoothly. And being a little bit more prepared with the night before, like, what am I doing the next day? What do I want my day to look like? How do I want my day to feel? If you just wake up in shambles and nothing's clean, nothing's organized, you're just running a mess, like around like crazy person, then that's just what the energy is going to feel. So I think getting enough sleep, trying to sort of get up around the same time every day is helpful, because just that circadian rhythm, I think, is important. Drinking good water. Like, if you're on town, like, tap water, get a good filter. Don't drink that stuff.
What filter
Get rid
do
of
you
the
like?
chemicals. I've got a filter called Alkaway, and it gets rid of, like, a lot of, like, the sediment, your chemicals. It takes fluoride out of the water, and it's also, I've got actually a few different systems, because I've got a UV, because we're on tank water. So I've got a UV light that kills bacteria, and things like that. So just good, healthy water. Just try and always filter your water through something. I would probably say, set up a little space in your house. Put a yoga mat down, or a mat of some kind, a little rug with a pillow. I always say, like, create a space to create yourself. Just like a dedicated space just for you, and take 5 minutes if that's all you have, and just, all you need to do is just get on the mat. You don't have to go, I need to do this yoga session, I need to do this many poses, I need to do this many squats. Or it's not even just about working out, it's just about being, like, in your body, in that space, just allowing yourself that time to be with yourself. So create a space. All you need is just a mat, a pillow, some headphones if you've got them, if it's just a block out noise. If it's behind closed doors, that's great, because if you have kids, you don't want them climbing all over you. And I would probably say going outside between work, kids, parenting, anything that you're doing, even if the weather's terrible, just go outside for at least 5 to 10 minutes, put your feet on the grass, put your skin in the sun. And it activates so many more things than what we even know. You know a lot about earthing and grounding, and it might just look like grass and bare skin, but it does so much energetically for your body. And the same with the sun. And it's so much more than just vitamin D, and it does so many amazing things for your body. So I would always recommend, don't be scared of the sun. Like, just give it 5 minutes, if that's all you've got.
Yeah, I think that science has a long way to go to understand energetically what's happening to our body when we do certain things. Like, we just don't even comprehend the energy involved of everything. Because I'll have a few days where I'm like, have a ton of work to do, and I just like am inside on the computer all day, 3 days straight. And then if I take a day where I'm like, wait, I haven't gone outside, and I go step outside, like, the difference that I feel in my body, even just for those 10 minutes where I'm like, what have I been missing? Because I'm sitting staring at a screen trying to get all this work done because I have like deadlines or whatever, different things I'm trying to get done. And then if I step outside, you feel such an energetic difference in your physical body, in your mental health. And a lot of the things you just mentioned are very mental health, I feel like. Wait, did you say 4? Do you have one more to go?
Yeah. What was the other thing? I think stretching of any type of stretching, even if it's just just get your back. I have scoliosis, so I always stretch, but I just think that we're all, right? We're at computers, we're on our phones, we're driving. Like, I just think a general stretch, just sort of like awaken those like dark areas in your body that tend to be stagnant and still for such long periods of time. Like, most people, I think it's like lower back, neck. So like just stretching it out, like take a few minutes to actually, and if you can do that with your bare feet on the grass and looking at the sun and having a drink of water, like there's your things combined. And then if you just go, okay, 5 minutes, 5 times a day, or I don't know, just go, okay, 5 minutes. I'm just going to go and do 5 minutes, stretch, have a drink of water, look at the sun, even if it's just through the window with your eyes, like, and then what was the 4th, 15? Stretch.
The quality water.
Oh, the grass.
The sleep.
Yeah, the sleep. So you can just combine a few of those things, and it's like, it doesn't have to be complicated to give you vibrancy. It doesn't have to be complicated to heal you. These are things that are just gifted to us, and the sun is not a burden. The sun is not going to kill you. The sun is not going to give every person cancer. You're not going to get all these problems from the sun. Like, we wouldn't even be here without the sun. We wouldn't even be here if we didn't have fresh air and oxygen. Like, I think just immerse yourself in it for a short amount of time, and you'll just see the beauty so much more clearly.
And a lot of these things are things that you can do with your kids. Like, your kids can go outside and stretch with you. And
anyone.
Yes.
Like, if your partner's outside in the driveway, like cleaning the car or doing something, like, all right, well, I'll just go out. Hey, do you want to join? If they don't, then that's cool. You still do it. Like, don't wait for other people. If your kids don't want to join in, like, just do it because, and that's even better. Like, be the example, I think the more, like, when you just do it for yourself, that's how you inspire other people to do the same, because they see the difference that it makes in you. So I just think that being well doesn't have to be complicated. It's just these consistent, continuous things that you do throughout the day, throughout most days, that make all the difference. What is it? It's like all the small things that add up. It's not this one big thing that you do. It's all of the small things you do on a daily occurrence.
Absolutely. And like I was saying, a lot of those things you mentioned are very mental health related. So how have you found, like, looking back in your life, like, what did you envision for your life before you thought you would do what you do now? And I know that you're not really doing like as much social media work as you do now, or as you did before. But when you look at like the problems with social media and mental health, and I would love to talk to you about that. You just got back from a retreat that was super really, really good for your wellness and for your mind. So maybe you could share a little bit about your thoughts about like what you think the problems are with social media that you've seen on your personal level.
Yeah. I've not only seen it, I've felt it on a very deep level, very direct towards me. So, and it was at a very vulnerable time of my life where I was really struggling with my mental health, as a lot of people were, which is, I think, why it was even worse, because we had all of these messed up people online that were hurting themselves and they just wanted to project out to other people. And
we still have that. We still have that. There's
I don't think it ever goes away.
Yeah, there's so many hurting people. And then
so
online.
many hurting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think why I said those sort of 5 things is because that's what I really sort of solidified during my time of my struggle with my mental health and my decline in my mental health. I had like debilitating anxiety. I didn't want to leave the house. I couldn't even log in. I couldn't even open my phone. Like everything was just triggering to me. I would feel physically sick. I would sometimes even physically be sick. I would have panic attacks. I could even putting the TV on. Like I couldn't watch any of the news. I couldn't talk to people because they would always talk about all of the bad things happening in the world. Honestly, everything triggered me. It was a terrible time in my life, and this was like end of 2019, and then the whole of 2020. It was. I think the main thing that triggered it was my health, my breast implants. I've never experienced anxiety to that depth. I don't even think I'd experienced anxiety like until then. You know, when people are like, I've got anxiety, and back when I never knew what it was, I was like, I'm sorry, like, is there anything I could do for you? But I just didn't understand it. Whereas now I've been through it, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, no wonder these people can't leave their houses. No wonder they can't get out of bed. And no wonder they just shut everybody out, because it's just such an internal battle. So continually to try and practice those things throughout that mental health journey for me just slowly just brought me back into my body instead of just being stuck in my head. Just slowly, just like every time I would go and sit in the sun, or I would just have a good drink of water, or I would have a better sleep, I would feel better. So I'm like, these are the little things I need to keep practicing. And if that's all that I can do, that's all I'm going to do. If for the most part of the day I'm going to be in bed, but I just take, every few hours I just go out and just do those things, then I'm going to be better by the end of the day than I was in the morning. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So what was happening? What was happening on social media at that time for you?
Yeah. So, okay, I'll start back like 2019. Okay. So I was obviously unwell. I was unaware that my implants were leaking at the time. They were causing a decline in my health and my mental health. But at the same time, we had horrific bushfires start in Australia, and very close to my home, all around the mountains and the bush area around here. There was smoke for months. It was terrible. It got very bad around the end of December, start of January 2020. And then also my partner had a really terrible motorbike accident at the end of December, not 2019, and that spiraled me down even further. And then coronavirus hit January. It was a couple of days after my birthday, and it was the first time I heard of it. I was on vacation in Hamilton Island, and I was like, wow, what is this thing? And then it went into lockdowns and hectic restrictions, a lot of fear mongering about, you just didn't want to go outside. Like, it was just it was terrifying, as everybody was in the same boat, right? My health was declining further. I got terrible tooth pain, in like during like one of the first lockdowns. It was so sudden. I just was just doing something during the day, and it was just like both sides of my mouth just went like someone just stabbed me in the jaw. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like what is that? What is that? Like I didn't know what had just happened. I had to get like an emergency appointment because nothing was open. So that just in itself was very eerie feeling. I was like walking into a dentist, right? No one's there. They literally unlock the door, turn the lights on, and you're the only one walking in. I'm like, this is so weird. And then he's just like, you have this strange like nerve damage that's come up from your jaw and your nerves are dead. Just on these same two teeth, exactly the same on either side. And your tooth has just died. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I have regular checkups. And he's like, yeah, no, this wasn't here last year. Like, I don't know what this is, but we're going to have to extract those teeth.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm going to have to pull my teeth out? Like, is there nothing else you can do? And he's like, no, because of the nerve is dead, there's nothing that you can do. And I was like, but why is the nerve dead? And he's like, I don't know. Like, it's a very strange thing.
Wow.
Fast forward a bit, I saw a traditional Chinese therapist, and they said that the meridian that's connected to these teeth runs directly down past the left breast implant into the large intestine.
Oh my goodness.
So the energy was blocked, and she seemed to think that that's why I had these two teeth just suddenly die.
That is
because
crazy.
Of the meridian. Yeah. So I had those two extracted, just me and this dentist in a dark dentist office. It was horrible. That was very painful. I have a really bad reaction to pain medication. And he put me on like Masindol, like this really high pain medication, and I had a terrible reaction to that. I got even worse anxiety. I had a huge falling out with my family around the same time.
I mean, that's traumatic in and of itself to like all of a sudden have to have like two teeth removed that you weren't expecting amongst having all these other things that's going on in your life. And that is traumatic in and of itself, let alone what you're saying. Keep going about your family. Yeah.
And we were obviously homeschooling at the time. Like we were in lockdown. The kids were with us 24/7. I know you're used to that, but I was not used to that. Just trying to keep on top of everything, and then just try and also heal from these two gaping holes in my jaw. I couldn't eat properly. It was not a nice time. And I was on this pain medic because it was so painful. I just couldn't get around it. I ended up making my own cannabis oil to try so I could get off the synthetic pain medication and try something more natural. Well, I obviously made myself something so potent. I took too much and I had a terrible experience. And that was send me into another panic attack. It was just not nice. It was really not nice. I had, a huge falling out with my family. I didn't see them then for another year, and I didn't really talk to most of them for a lot of that time too. So it was just a very isolated time for me to be just in pain in all areas. And then the Black Lives Matters movement happened. And I'm a very empathetic person. I felt so hurt by what these people were going through. And I just tried to express that through social media. And it wasn't received. It was like the opposite effect. I've got a lot of abuse in my time through social media. I've done a lot of media things on large channels, but this was like the most nasty, horrible, like threats towards myself and my family and my children, and like people being like, I know where you live, like I know where your kids go to school. Like it was just, I'm like, why? Like I haven't, I'm trying to express my sympathy and my gratitude. Like, what can I do to improve this? What can I do to help? And I just got attacked for it. And I think just with how sensitive I was at the time.
Yeah, you were going through a lot already.
I couldn't handle, like I just completely shut down, and I got into this headspace thinking that I was like worthless, and what I was doing was just pointless, and who cares about what I'm doing? Like, why have I got such a great life? Like, I just wanted to sabotage everything. And I did sabotage a lot of, like, many parts of my life. I guess because I tried to bring myself to those levels of those low people that were trying to attack me so that they wouldn't attack me, right? Like, I'd be on their level. Like, I wouldn't be this person that they would feel the need to bring down because I would already be down, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
I'm so
I
sorry.
took a few months off.
You've gone through so much,
Yeah.
like, especially like with your family, having that falling out on top of everything with you not feeling well. I'm so sorry that you experienced that, let alone all at the same time.
Yeah. It's a lesson, right? Like, I learned so much about myself. I learned a lot about other people. That's really how I like to look at it. It was a lesson. I think I've grown a lot. It strengthened a lot of the bonds in my life between other people. And I have mended, we have mended those relationships, like, between the family. So, and everyone's sort of taken accountability that, like, I think it was just a really heightened, sensitive time. Like, the start of 2020, the whole of 2020, it was just, everyone was just like at this, like, at their limit of what they could emotionally, mentally, physically take on.
Yeah, not even.
And I think naturally a lot of people project it out.
Yes, absolutely. Because, everything on the news, they're talking about the actual virus, but not much was actually talking about mental health amongst all the lockdowns and everything that was happening amongst that, which turns out years later, they're finally going, oh, actually, yeah, this caused a lot of problems in this other ways as well that wasn't being talked about before.
Yeah. And I do want to mention, Ellen, like, you were such a support to me during that time. Like, I know that I was a little bit quiet, and that was just because I couldn't deal with, I couldn't digest anything properly. Like, so, but you had some great conversations with me, and I also know that you were going through a hard time with a lot of things. So to be able to relate together and support each other through that was, like, I really appreciate that too.
Oh, yeah, I totally remember that. I remember, like, hiding in the bathroom so that I could have, like, fully focused on my conversation with you. I was like, Andrew, take the kids. I need to talk to my friend right now. And, like, locking the bathroom door, and the kids are, like, on the door. But I'm like, no, I need to talk to Loni right now. I do remember that.
I know. Sure. Yeah, because you're just so open, and you can see things from so many different sides. And I really needed someone that could relate to me, like someone that was going through a hard time also with certain things, and someone that was also had a large following, who had been online sharing their life for a long time. And, you're just so wise, and you're so thoughtful and caring that you did really help me through that time. So I thank you so much for that.
Oh, thanks, Loni. You're gonna make me cry. I, like, cried in my last episode and the episode before that. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it 3 times in a row.
Anyways, that's just because you're a sweet soul, but you're also pregnant.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But they were also heavy topics, the last couple ones, and this is this is quite heavy too. Like, anytime you're going through something like really serious with your mental health, and then on top of it add on physical health, and on top of it family in your life, like, and then on top of it social media, because I think a lot of people don't realize, like, how damaging this social media thing can be, because it's a whole new fake world out there where people say things they would never say to someone in real life, and it's just gotten to this level that's just kind of crazy to me. So, but I don't even see it going in any other direction for a long time, if ever. But
I know. I'm the same, and it just solidifies that you just got to continue. You just got to go on and just keep being authentic, keep being yourself. You're not for everyone, right? Like, we're not for everyone. We don't need to be liked by everyone. And some people just don't like anyone. They just want to spread hate. They don't even like who they are. So I just take that on board. I'm like, I just stay true to who I am. And, you know, life is such a journey. Like, this social media thing's not just like, oh, you just share for one day and then that's it. Like, that's all people see of your life. Like, we've been on this for like over a decade, and your life changes, you know, it ebbs and flows, and you change. Yeah. So I just, every time I get like funny about posting, or like, oh, I shouldn't share this, or I shouldn't share that, or like I pull it apart, I just try and just remind myself that, like, this is just who I am at this time, and that's okay. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't like it. They have the option to leave.
Yes, absolutely. I was listening to something that Jay Shetty had said once. Do you know who he is? He's kind of a big
I love him.
podcaster. Yeah. And he was saying the negative effects to like opening up your phone the moment you wake up and pulling up social media. He's like, this is something that we would never be able to do before social media, where you basically open up your whole mind to like a million people. And this is not for somebody with a following or without a following. It applies to everybody.
Just anyone.
Anybody. You're taking in everybody's opinions, everybody's thoughts about things that's just getting put on social media, and right after you woke up in such a sensitive time, right? And
it is. It's such a spongy time. Like, your brain is just like a sponge, but it needs to be focused on you and what you need to do for the day, what you need to do for your family, not what's everyone else doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Or what everyone else is thinking about you or other people. And whenever I've let myself get into a place of like a spiral, because I've definitely gone to that place where I've let other people's opinions affect how I feel about myself, like when it's happening in large quantities, which has happened, you know, multiple times. And if I ever let myself get to that place, Andrew will be like, Ellen, look, just think about this. He's like, picture a baseball stadium. Every single person is filled in that stadium, like however many thousands, like it's like 70,000 people, like all those people, and they're all looking at you. Like, there's no way that you're going to get all of them to just understand you or see it the way that you do. Like, that's just reality. Like, think about all those people. And he's like, now times that by 5. And it's like, then you really picture the amount of people. And it's like, you really just have to let it go and be like, you're just going to continue to do what feels right and be authentic. And at the same time, like, let things go that like everyone's going to see life in a different way. And because of the way social media is, it just causes a lot of people to do things that they would, or say things that they would never say in real life. And like, that's just something that you have to accept, and then you can grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And with the stadium analogy, I think, right, if you're in a stadium, there's usually 2 teams. And they're arguing amongst themselves for the most part. So, you know, it's always going to be that way. You're just never going to get everybody's side, and not everybody's going to see what you did right and what you did wrong. And you just can't justify it, right? Like, when you're in a game of any kind in a stadium, like, you have like one referee, like, or a few referees telling the players, it's really about what they saw and how they think. Like, it's about what the referee thinks, even if the player is right, like, and they just have to continue the game. It's just the way that it is. So I love that. Thanks, Andrew, for that analogy.
I know. He's always got good things to like get me in perspective.
I love a good analogy. I love it.
Yeah. So then it sounds like even through that experience, you kind of went quiet for a little bit, you felt like, and went inward, but do you feel like you've kind of come out the other side of it now? Because I still see you sharing super vulnerably, which most people don't do. Like, you just share in a different way than most people I see.
Yeah, it took me a while. I was very sort of like I was showing up and, you know, really sharing about problems, but I honestly couldn't articulate it in any way for a long time. I think I was a little bit stuck into like, why is this happening to me? Like, a little bit of like a victim mentality, like, boo-hoo, like, why me? Like, my life is just, you know, sabotaged, everything. Like, I've just gone backwards. Like I was really stuck. But it really, once I started feeling better physically and getting my health in check, then I feel like everything else was like getting ticked off. And then I could slowly be more confident in just being myself and sharing my thoughts. I'm not completely there yet. I only just recently put up a post like about what I'd been through, and it was sort of, there's only so much you can say, right? Like in a short caption. But yeah, trying to be super vulnerable and just authentic, but also protecting myself from people who just want to attack you. To some degree, I still think about those people, and I think, is this giving them fuel, or is this going to aggravate the situation? Or I don't even like thinking about it, to be honest. But I think the days that go on, the less and less that I am thinking, like when I'm ready to post or I want to say something, I want to share something, I'm not pulling it apart as much as I was. Like,
yeah,
I have years worth of content that I had in draft mode that I would go to post, and I'd literally be like shaking. Like it was crazy. I'd be like, I just can't, because I would pull it apart and I would just think it was just pointless. I honestly thought that everything that I did was just so stupid.
So like,
and I'm
letting,
like, why am I?
Yeah, letting
other people's opinions, like, because I think, like during the Black Lives Matter thing, I remember this one like particular moment, and I just posted, I think this was very early on, like in the movement, and I posted a juice photo, and then I just had all these people like, who gives a F about your juice? Like, people are dying. You're so privileged to drink your juice in the car, in your fancy car, and all of this. And I was just like, I didn't actually even know what was going on. I'm not one to follow the news. I don't listen to the news channels. I don't even scroll through my feed half of the time. So I was like, what's going on? And then the ball just rolled from there. It was just a constant attack. Like, oh, you post these food photos. Like, there's so many bigger things going on in the world. Like, it's so pointless. Like, actually do something with your life. Like, and then because it was just so consistent, like every day every time I would post, I was like, am I really that pointless? Am I really like, I just didn't have this clear vision of like who I was anymore. I just was thinking about how other people viewed me, which I didn't ever really used to think like that. Like, I didn't used to do things for validation or to please others. I just did it because it felt good for me.
I just got stuck in my head of like, how does someone else perceive me? How does this look to those people who are going through hardship? And I just felt like everything I did was offensive to them, because it was like, if I was going through something, well, if I was doing something good, I was like, oh, so I'm able to do something good with my day, and these other people are suffering. And it felt like unfair. I wanted them to have a good life. I wanted them to go. I didn't want them to be hurting, and so, yeah, like I said, in turn, I end up sabotaging my own life so that I didn't, so I didn't live a good life, so that I was sharing their pain to some degree.
Right.
But now I'm like, well, what's the point of that?
Yeah. Oh, you should listen to my episode. You might have already listened to it, the one with my friends Kent and Heather on mind change. She talked about, she talked about that, about how
She's
like, yeah, there was a whole section in our conversation where she was talking about when we take on other people's feelings, and if that's really a productive or helpful. Like, there's a difference between caring about the other versus like taking on the other. So that was an interesting perspective. And how was Pete with you through all of this? Like, how has your relationship been with his, like, is his support with you through what you have gone through?
He's very supportive. I think just, it blindsided him too. Like, he had no idea that was all those things were going to happen to me, which is why when I looked back on this photo in January 2020, I was like, this was really like the last time I felt like I can recognize that was the last time I I felt like a normally shorter person, like, and before all these things happened, and you know, he had no idea, I had no idea, so I think he was trying to juggle it just like I was. And at the same time, obviously, I'm still a mum. I'm still have, you know, money to make. He still has his business. Like, life still goes on. But there were times where it was definitely really hard for him. He'd never, ever, ever seen me, like, want to give up. Just want to stop. Like, I guess, and if that was spun the other way and I saw him decline in that way, like, how scary that would be. So I know it was really scary for him. He was like, what is going on with you? Like, and for the most part, I still remember the conversation. This was like getting to like middle of 2020, and like we sat down and he's like, what's the plan to improve what's, like, we need to have like a goal or something, because like, you just can't keep living like this, like, you know, crying yourself to sleep, having intense panic attacks, just living with anxiety, not wanting, like, cancelling, even though everything was cancelled, right, 2020, but like cancelling everything on top of that, you know, ghosting everyone, not speaking to anyone, you know, physically being sick, like just yeah. So he struggled, but he ultimately gave me the ultimate support that what a partner should have, like, should give, and he was just there for me. And yeah, he did. Like, I remember when we had the conversation, he's like, what are you going to do? And the first thing I said, which is probably the first time I said it to him, was, I need to remove my implants. And he was like, oh, like, what do you, like, why is that like the number one thing? And I said, because I honestly think they're making me really sick, and they're heightening everything else that's going on, because it's making me sick, and it's making me like, my brain is not right because of this. That's just the way that I feel, and I think that I'm taking on everything 10 times as bad as it is. It's like 10 times worse to me because of this. And then he was like, oh, like, but why do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe they're leaking. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is. I just want to take him out. And he was like, that was really the first time that he come to terms with, like, that's what we need to do. And then we were like, okay, well, it's all locked down with all these restrictions. How are we going to have a surgery? And, you know, put away, like, make the budget happen to have a major surgery like that. So that was the first thing I did. And, you know, he was nothing but supportive through that whole thing. That was like, because we knew that would take weeks. Like, I'd probably be in bed for at least a week. And, well, I really wanted to give myself at least a week where I didn't have to do any of my duties. Like, I didn't have to make food for the kids. I didn't have to do anything for school. I didn't have to do any homeschooling. I just could sleep and go to the hospital, have my surgery. I mean, and sure enough, I was at the hospital for like 6 days because I just had terrible reactions to the drugs. That I'm just sensitive, obviously. But, yeah, I just don't react well to anesthetic of any kind. And my blood pressure was extremely low. And the pain medication, the Alexia they gave me, I had a full-on trip. I was hallucinating, seeing, like, snakes come up through the carpet, and I thought that, like, I could hear every dead person that had died in the hospital. It was horrific. I was like, oh my God, what have you just given me? So that was an allergic reaction to that. So yeah, once I got out, yeah, it was about a week in bed, and then I slowly got better. But he's just been amazing. Just to give me that support through it. And this wasn't just weeks, you know, this was like a year and a half of me trying to sort my life out. And he just had to witness it, really, and just be the best support that he could. He can be pretty firm at times too, like, which is what I needed as well. He's like, you know, like, you need to get out of bed and you need to get going. Like, do not give up. We don't give up, you know, because he could see me just drifting, like, into that mental state, I guess, of like just that victim mentality of just like,
thinking that nothing could get better. And he just literally just pulled me out of that hole, and he's like stood me on my feet, you know, and he's like, you do it. No matter how you feel, you do it.
Wow. So a couple of things I want to say, like in response, and then I have a question about this part about relationships, because listening to your story, people who are listening, I feel like what we can take away from this is like, you never know what somebody's going through online. Like you could see their page or whatever, and even someone who is as vulnerable as you are online, you still don't really fully know what someone's going through. And to just have a little bit of love, you know, when you look at any person. And that could be, even for me, that's a reminder for me when I get even messages or comments that are quite nasty. Like I honestly just feel bad for the person. Like I'm like sad. Like what are you going through that you're sitting behind a screen right now wanting to spend your time in this way? And just feeling, I don't know, just like taking everything with an understanding that like everybody's going through something different and we don't understand what someone else is going through, to just have a little heart before you like say something online to someone else. And maybe ask yourself, maybe ask yourself if you would say this to the person's face, you know?
That's right. That's right. I mean, I've thought that since I was a young child, because my mum really instilled that in me. Like, you know, if you wouldn't say it to their face, don't say it at all. You know, or if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, right? Which is probably, I mean, I guess I am quite reserved in terms of like conflict and like putting people in their place or defending myself even. I don't tend to do that because I'm like, well, it's not going to come out that nicely, even though you've not said something nice to me. But so I just tend to just be reserved and just keep it to myself, and I'll just journal it, you know, and just let it go. But I also think that's a real blessing, because I just don't take a lot of things personally for the most part. Like for most of my life, I've really not taken many things personally, and I'm very forgiving, and I, you know, forgive and forget and move on. And I think that people can change, and I think just so many positive things. And I just think that is a good thing about myself. But there's many times online where like I do, or even in person, like I would like to defend myself, but I don't really like arguing, and I don't know. I just feel like, is that like I'm just trying to prove my worth? Like, I don't know. It's weird. I'm just kind of like that. Just kind of just leave. Well, whatever. Let them think whatever they want. Do I have to justify and argue with them when they probably won't see it anyway? Time will tell. You know, time will prove that.
I'm kind of the opposite, where I'm like, let's have this conversation, and I don't mind. Yeah. But if it's online, I just no. I'm like, I don't have the energy or the space to give this person I've never met before or seen before, and just spread my energy on the phone, because I know the type of person that I am, that when I take the time to respond to somebody's criticism, negativity, nastiness, whatever, which every once in a while I do if I'm in like the very perfect headspace, and I'm like,
I've seen you do it, and you do it so well. Like I've said to you, you're so good with your words, and you articulate your arguments in such a peaceful, factual way that it's like you just don't even have anything to come back. You're like, yeah, you're right.
But the problem is that in order for me to get that across, I have to spend a lot of time and energy sitting by myself in a room, making sure I'm saying things exactly how I mean it. Like, I'm not the type of person to just like, send. Like, I'm going to read through it, make sure because I want what I'm going to say to be as well received as possible.
Yeah, and you're very intentional. Yeah.
Right. And the goal is peace, conclusion, seeing each other's perspective, you know, at least most of the time. But like I said, there's very little time in my life that I want to dedicate to that, especially for someone that I don't know and I'm never going to see in real life. So if it was someone in my real life, though, I 100% will always, that's just my personality, I'll always meet you there and want to talk about it. But not everybody wants to do that too, you know? Yeah. Like some people might have the opposite personality. But yeah,
I think that's online, where I struggle too. Yeah. With you, we could talk about anything. We could talk about some of our biggest differences and still be friends, right? But like some people just cannot speak. Like they just cannot talk about their own flaws. They don't see any part of their impact on a situation. And if there's no accountability and you can't really just reflect on both sides, then how is there even a conclusion anyway? Like if it's just one-sided.
Yeah, and also
So I'm
just
not interested in
understanding.
talking to people like that are just one-sided and just think that
Yeah,
you're the
no.
person wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just also being understanding that if someone in your life is having a really hard time having talking to you about something that you guys disagree with, like that could also be because they're just having a lot of anxiety about it and they haven't worked through that to be able to even talk to someone else about something that they disagree with. And maybe it was the way that they were raised where they were
Yeah.
punished or shamed for disagreeing with their parents about anything. And so like
Yeah.
all there's everything's interconnected. Anyway, so the last thing I wanted to touch on with what you said about, you know, Pete being there for you and stuff, like do you have like a philosophy on partnering in love? Like what is the way that you guys keep yourselves solid together even through hard times?
Yeah. I think, I've not super like analyzed our relationship, I think because it's been, we seem to just work like on a lot of levels. A lot of people don't believe in like astrology and the stars and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of our astrology, like we are perfectly aligned. He's a Virgo, I'm a Capricorn. Um, Even like his moon is Capricorn and mine is Capricorn as well. But I think so. That's sort of like the first part of like I think why we were even attracted to each other in the first place. Um, I'm very attracted to like a go-getter, like someone who just gets at it, and he's a real like manly like guy. Like he just if he wants something, he'll just go and get it.
Andrew is a Virgo too, and he is the same way.
Oh wow, there you go, Virgo man. Um, so yeah, I think our compatibility there was always there from the start. But I think in terms of going through this like roller coaster of relationship and like love and then, raising a family and parenthood together, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. But ultimately, I guess communication is key. Like if there's something that's just niggling and it's consistent, it needs to be addressed. And sometimes bringing it up isn't always comfortable and it's not always convenient, but like just say it, but just try and never deliver it in an attacking way and try not to be, overly judgmental and still, just come from a place of like how it makes you feel, not like you did this to me or like like they're directly trying to hurt you or anything like that. It's just like because they're just so many people just not aware, right, of the things that they do, especially when you're super busy, right? We One of the most amazing things I think of why we have such a solid relationship all this time later is, I mean, he's amazing with vacations, right? And we go out for dinner and we'll have these amazing weekends away, or it might not be very frequent, but when it is, it's so meaningful and long lasting. And it's something that's so important to him to like remove himself from, just your daily environment and go and do something amazing, like go somewhere beautiful, spend it with someone that you love, like take the time, just like, you guys had that weekend away. And but we'll try not to wait that many years to do it. We'll try and do it at least like once a year. And then, little date nights and stuff in between. We don't have a lot of support with family or babysitters close to us, so it does have to be super planned. But I think we just make the most of it. But in terms of our home life, we both sort of know that like during the day we're working, both of us, or we're doing our duties. But then at night, we just try and get into bed early and just like spend that time together. And that's really where our time is. Like it's at nighttime. But I also get up. I get up at 4:45 with him most every single day. And,
Wow.
I want him to feel like that, like we're a team at these things, even though like we have separate jobs and we do a lot of separate things. Like I support you. Like, and I think because nutrition and health and wellness is so important to me, it's something that I want to give to him. So when I get up at, the crack of dawn, I make his lunch and I'll make him a hot chocolate and I'll give him his food for the day. So it just takes a stress. It's just one stress off him that he doesn't have to think about. And I know that like I've sort of played a part in his day, even though I'm not with him. And that means so much to him. When I was unwell and I wasn't doing that, it really like caused a bit of like distance between us. Like when I wasn't getting up and I wasn't seeing him in the morning and I wasn't giving him that, you know, that sort of those, like a goodbye, like when he would like I walk out to the, like it's dark at the moment, you know, I walk out in the dark in the driveway and wave him goodbye, and like I really just give him that energy that's like I love you, I hope you have a good day, like I hope that everything goes well for you today, and you know, I'll see you when you get home. Like I think the energy that you sort of project onto your partner is important, even like if it's like that invisible. Like if you just love them and you want the best for them, like just really like give them that energy, like give them that vibe, even if they know it or not. Just like you think it to yourself, like I love you so much, I'm so proud of you, I'm so grateful for you. Like I think all those things like in the mornings, even though sometimes we may not speak, because I'm doing those things with intention, and that's how I feel, so that hopefully he might feel that way about me and that way about us. And yeah, so I think too with the kids, our kids are really great sleepers in terms of they go to bed and they sleep all night and they're in their room. When there was times when like if they've been sick or when they were young and there was kind of like a bit of, they were sleeping in our room or in our bed, that caused a bit of distance between us because we couldn't connect. So I think that's a really important thing. And I think when I speak to other parents and they're like, oh, you know, our 3 or 4 year olds like still sleeping in our bed, and or I sleep in the eldest child's room and then the other child sleeps with the dad in the room. And I know that like for short periods of time that definitely has to happen, but I think it can get too consistent and too comfortable like that, and it can last for years. Yeah. And then if you're not connecting with your partner for years, I mean, what do you think's like going to happen? Like at some point you're just not going to feel like in that relationship, like, yeah, you're roommates and you're doing life together and you're just doing parenthood together. But if you're not like physically connecting, emotionally connecting to them, because you don't have the time, because you always have this child like wedged in between you at all times for years on end.
Yeah.
And you don't take times to have date nights. You don't take time to go away together. You don't take time to like have small breaks at home. Like, you know, just we also have a lot of space here, right? Let the kids run, go play on the trampoline, go run around the yard, and like me and dad can just sit here and have a chat. And if they come up and want to keep distracting us, we just say like, mum and dad are just having, you know, a few minutes together. We'd really appreciate if you could just go and play. And, you know, you've got all this beautiful space, and just come back in 10 minutes, you know. And most of the time they are pretty understanding. It's just sort of goes back to like those small things that you do throughout the day to make a massive difference in an outcome.
Yeah, those boundaries I think are really helpful with kids and also good for them because, you know, Scout, my daughter, was asking like, why are you leaving, you know, when we were going to go on our 2-night away thing. And we're like, it's kind of like how I take you on a date, and it's really nice to be alone together sometimes with nobody else. Like me and dad need that too. We need to be able to be alone together. And so the same thing for us when the kids go to bed, it's like, it's bedtime. You're going to bed in your room so me and dad can connect by ourselves. And that's hard for them to understand sometimes, but just being that example and showing them how important and integral it is to like keep your relationship connected that way. And like you said about what you're doing in the morning for him, showing him love the way that he's going to receive it best, I think goes a long way.
And I think our love languages are quite similar, like acts of service. We're both similar in that sense. So like I do so much for him, just as much as I possibly can, and he is the same. So we're not really left feeling like, oh, I wish they did more of this or more of that, because we both recognize that, like I recognize that he feels very loved when I'm doing those things for him, like when I am making his food, when you know, I do give him affection and, you know, scratch his back, and his physical touch is very important to him, and I understand that. And I think that's the way that I've always naturally been. So, you know, it just brings us closer. Like when we're in bed, we're not just stuck on our phones like in other worlds. We're like together. And even if I have to be on my phone or he has to be on the phone, we're still kind of like touching each other in some degree. Like I'll have my hand on his chest or like on his back, scratching his back or touching his head. Like he knows that I'm there, and like and vice versa. So, you know, it's not like there's this distance, like, you know, between us, like we're just laying in bed. Like I can't stand that, you know, feeling like you're together but you're not together. Like I've had that in past relationships, and it's just, who wants to share a bed with like this, you feel like a stranger, like someone you don't fully know or can't be yourself with or talk with. So and one more thing I think too is staying in good physical health, because it's something that I recognize in a lot of other people too, that like when you let yourself go, and then as much as people say, oh, like I'll love you anyway, right? But if you're not physically attracted to them because they've let themselves go so much that they literally don't respect their own physical body, that may not be attractive to you anymore. And then what happens then? Then maybe you won't connect. Maybe you won't be having intimacy. And then if you're not having intimacy, then you don't have that intimate connection emotionally with them. And then you just become roommates. You just become just parents to your children. And that's really the only reason why you may stay together. But it's just like this slow divide. So I think when you feel super well in your body and you feel confident and comfortable with yourself, that you're like an open book, you know, you're an open door. You will just let that person just see you exactly the way that you are. And because you love who you are already and you're comfortable in that skin, like the amount of other mums that I've spoken to that, like, they really don't like their bodies at all. And like, I hate this. Like, oh, you know, my partner's not seen me with the lights on in years, you know, or
wow. Oh,
and
my
I just
goodness.
think, well, how can you be like in that pure state of intimacy if you don't even want to see you, right?
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to see? Like, if you don't want to see you, it's such an energy thing too. Like, you're already shut out before you even get under the covers, right?
Because a lot of
yeah.
Totally. A lot of times those insecurities aren't even really based in reality, but it's how we perceive ourselves.
Yeah.
And
It's
that
so
could
weird.
be partly because of the social media stuff and like face filters and all these things that make everyone look like these fake versions of themselves that isn't reality.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that affects how you feel about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
I've
that.
not really ever been overly affected by that. Like, that I've never really used face filters and all that sort of stuff, like all the weird things that people do. But it's never bothered me. Like, I've never really had issues with wanting to be someone else or anything like that. But in terms of relationship, I think, and connection with someone else is just it's just important to just love who you are and like what you see in the mirror, the person that how you carry yourself, like whether it's with your partner or not, like how do you treat other people, like how do you think other people perceive you, like how do you want them to remember you, like if that's the first time you're ever going to see someone, the last time, like are you going to have good energy, like do you feel confident and good in yourself? You know, and every relationship goes through challenges. Like I remember when I told him I had to get my implants removed, and I knew that, right, like we both loved them to some degree. Like they were attractive and they're very sexual and you feel very feminine. And it was a big part of like our sexual connection was this area of my body. Not just for him, like for me too. So I think that's why it was sort of like a big decision too. I was like, it wasn't just about me. I knew that this was a part that would be difficult for him, but he never ever said like no, or you need to get them put back in, or like he never made me feel like what I naturally was not going to be enough, which just, you know, it just validates that person that I know that he is. Like he's just so beautiful like that. And I know that like when we first got together I didn't have them, and he, you know, he loved me the way that I was then, and I loved me too the same way. So it was a little bit of like just getting used to it, like once they were out, like just getting used to it. And I had put on a lot of weight too, like it was sort of close to 20 kilos there for a while. Like I looked like a different person, honestly, in the mirror. I was like, I don't know, I can't recognize myself. So being a little bit intimate, like at times, was a little bit hard, like just to be so exposed, feeling like I was just a different person. But he still accepted me, and he never made me feel less, or he never compared me to another girl and like what I should look like. We both just sort of let that journey happen. And I mean, I had some major insecurities at a point. I was like, because I just didn't think I was going to get back to normal. I was like, am I just going to be like just feeling gross like forever? And and the first time I was ever insecure around him, like I didn't want to put a bikini on. Like we're at the beach and I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, I've never felt this insecure, never in my life. Like,
wow,
feeling insecure. Like I'd never felt that. And then I felt like, oh my God, like he's looking at these girls on the beach and they just look so much better. And I was putting that thought, like thinking that's what he was thinking, but he wasn't even thinking that.
Yeah. Well,
I was thinking, because that's what I was thinking, right?
Right. Well, I'm so glad that you have a partner that was able to ground you through those insecurities and wasn't like exasperating it, because he wasn't what you were kind of making in your head. Yeah,
because I thought, it's easier, right, if someone else thinks that and it's their insecurity, because they're not happy with you. But it was me. Like I wasn't happy with myself at that time, and I was insecure, and that's my visualizations. And it was nothing that he did. It was just a projection.
Right. Well, I feel like your story is really hopeful for like, it can be for somebody who's like maybe listening, going through a dark time and seeing all the ups and downs that you've had and what you've come through. Like, where are you now? Like kind of rounding out this conversation, where do you feel like you're at now? You just went to a retreat. I saw you share a little bit about like how you're feeling now in this time period. And like, what are you most excited about now? I think that's like my last question for you. Like where are you at right now and what are you most excited about?
I'm overall, I think the word is like positive and moving forward. I feel confident in myself. I can feel changes. I can see changes. I've witnessed, a transformation over the last couple of years. And I'm really validated that I've just done the right things. And, the retreat I did on the weekend was, it was just a 2.5 day retreat. But my gosh, it made an impact that felt like it was weeks. I had not taken time for myself. I couldn't even tell you actually the last time. And I just happened to do that. It was for work. I was invited there. But I realized just how important, and I should have done that months ago for myself. Like I shouldn't have waited for someone to invite me to do that. And that's also why I wanted to really share that message. Like any mums out there, like anyone who just go and do it, like make the time to do it. So I think moving forward, I just want to keep sharing just the way that I have been, and just really get into the flow of sharing again. I am working on a few different books. I haven't really nailed just working on one. I sort of worked on a breast implant illness book, just sort of my journey, how it came about, the facts on breast implant illness itself, and then the journey to how to even think about having surgery and processes there, and taking getting ready and preparing yourself for surgery and the healing time after it, and then detoxing after. And then a kids book. I'm working on a kids book.
I love that.
Yeah, so there's a few things in the works. I haven't really nailed this is exactly what I'm doing and this is the only thing I'm focusing on, because I'm really only just getting that clarity now. My focus is just still so much just about raising the kids and being a mom, and that's my number one. Keeping a household, that's just what I do love to do, and that's what I do every day. And my work is number two. I mean, it's even number three, because my relationship is up there, with my partner. But I think I need to create a little bit more structure, like a little bit more boundaries around work. And I know we need to have that conversation because you are so amazing at that, and the way that you just put that structure around your family life and work balance. You know, I know you also struggle with it. Like, it's very hard. And to have the kids understand is probably the hardest part. Like, creating boundaries around, like, mummy's working. Like, at the moment, like, this morning I just needed to do a post, right? And it's like I was up at 4:45. My son was up at 5. Like, he was with me. We were for hours. We were playing Scrabble. We put the fire on. Like, we were doing lots of things. And I'm like, I just need 10 minutes, buddy. I just need 10 minutes because this is work. I need to put this post up and that. And because I wanted to as well. Like, I love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I have pretty much hidden that part of my life from the kids. It's like, when I'm with them, I'm not on my phone. When I'm with them, I'm not doing work. But, like, I'm with them a lot as well. Like, how can I create more awareness for them? And that, like, I'm like, mummy's working. Mummy's doing something. I'll be with you. But I think because I haven't really done that, they don't understand, and they think, oh, it's rude. Like, how rude of you to be on your phone for 10 minutes and not play Lego with me. But not feeling guilty about it too, because, I watch Peter, and, like, it's so clear. Like, his boundaries are so clear, and the kids just, it's just black and white. Dad's on the phone. Dad's on the phone. If I'm on the phone, they're climbing on my head. They're like,
I know.
Like, they're going nuts. And I just, why is it that they'll do it for him, but they won't do it for me? And I think because naturally, being female, we're so adaptable and agreeable, and we just kind of go with the flow a lot, because it's just forever changing, right? But I think just creating some clear boundaries with a lot of things and structure will help me move forward and just keep on this incline that I'm on, and I'm feeling amazing. My health is just flourishing at the moment, and it's sort of like it's showing, like, in all areas. Like, it's finally, like, I finally feel like my body is just balancing out. My hormones are good. Like, my hair's growing back. My mental health is just phenomenal. Like, to trigger me into anxiety is it's like hard to do. Which is amazing, because I feel like I could just be triggered by anything. So I'm really happy with where
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy to hear that. And I think that's really inspiring and hopeful. And I'm just so glad we had this conversation, because I just love everything you share. I love our conversations, and I hope people really enjoyed our little conversation. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Yeah.
I know it's hard for both of us, but we made it happen.
We did.
Even after a few glitches.
Yeah. We had so many technical difficulties. We got there.
Yeah. We got there in the end. So I'm super happy too. And, hopefully this is one of many, and, we can continue, like, a bit of a series of conversations, because I feel like we just can talk about so many different subjects.
I know.
That is good for other people to hear, because it comes from, like, a place of, like, this common ground, or, not a right or wrong. Like, it's very, like, an understanding. So yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, I agree. I would love that. A Loni and Ellen series. We need to do it. You're going to come to Hawaii next time, I think.
Yes. And you need to come to Australia.
Oh, I would love to do that. Oh my gosh. Just the thought, though, of getting all 5 kids to Australia just sounds like way too much.
I know. I've been watching Chelsea stories, and I'm like, how does she travel with all of those kids?
She's amazing. She's a badass.
She is like superhuman. She's so amazing.
Yeah, and their family is amazing. So awesome.
Yeah, maybe she's on the list for an interview.
Oh yeah, one day when her life slows down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Loni. This was amazing, and
Thank you,
appreciate
Ellen.
you sharing your story. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the chat, and we'll speak soon. And bye, everyone who's listening. I don't really want to think about how many people listen.
Yeah. I know. I always like thanking people. If you get this far, thank you for tuning in this far.